Yeah, so something that came up in the last video, hyoid bones. Woo! Yeah, hyoid bones. So one of the things that has been kind of at the heart of denying that like Neanderthals had language or you know um, hyoid bone geometry, the musculature and all of that and the size and basically the idea is the hyoid bone is a bone in your throat and so like the muscles that uh, are involved in controlling your vocal cords are attached to the hyoid bone. The idea is, and there's various iterations of it. There's always nuance. So there's no way I'm ever going to be like 100% accurate. Like there, the entire everybody says this. No, but the gist is generally something along the lines of well, it doesn't look like a modern human hyoid bone, so they don't have language. Which is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit on so many levels. So the basic there's a couple basic routes here, but okay, so the first one I'm going to take. The first route I'm going to take is think about the evolution of that bone. Or well, the evolution of anything. But um so we have muscles attaching to this bone, right? And in modern humans there's this kind of particular shape that's occurred and it's associated with the behavior of talking. Okay, fine. Um but the behavior of talking is what motivated those changes. So the behavior of talking has to have come before the changes did. It changed because of talking. It didn't change and then talking happened because it was allowed now. That's retarded. That's fucking retarded. What are you doing? What the? It's like anything, you're right? So, a long ass time ago, in like 1904, somebody invented the engine that Harley Davidson uses now. And so this is a joke, just so everybody's aware. Yeah, so in 1904, the Harley Davidson engine was invented, and in subsequent time, actual motorcycle companies developed good engines. Oh, yeah, but you had to have you had to have the motorcycle companies, and Harley Davidson was not the first. There were a few, 1890s, probably even earlier than that. Um, but you had to have people using these things for them to develop further, for them to become better, for for Honda to have engines that are better than Harley Davidson. Um, I don't think Harley Davidson ever contributed to this because they didn't fucking. The other companies who actually gave a shit, they were involved in innovation and changing things, but only because people were already doing it. People were already using motorcycles, right? They didn't, right? You didn't get in the 1890s the first motorcycle. So I don't even know if it was the 1890s. Say it was. Pretend I know what the fuck I'm talking about and say first motorcycle was in the 1890s, and I'm wrong about this. Just go with that. Shut up. The first motorcycle wasn't a Hayabusa. It wasn't. It was some piece of shit with like half a horsepower. And like IOE, yeah, no, it wasn't good. It wasn't. It was a bicycle with a really heavy shit engine on it. You know, not even a moped by today's standards. But that's how you start something. You have to get people using it, and then you get, oh, okay, well that we can improve this, and we can improve this, and this gets better, and this gets better, and it just over time it just gets sexier and sexier and more efficient and better and better. And things like the hyoid bone are subject to exactly this process, exactly the same process. It's not going to change to a modern form in the only extant animal that has language. So really you have no data. It's not going to change and then you get language. It's going to change because you have language. So you have to have language beforehand. You have to have people doing the behavior, utilizing these functions, and then it optimizes in response to that use. Same sort of thing as the motorcycle. You weren't, the first motorcycle was not a Hayabusa. It wasn't an R1. It was a fucking pile of shit. It was a bicycle with like big ass heavy engine with no power. That's what it was. It was the first Harley Davidson couldn't even climb a hill. Like, this is great. Like, really, you're Harley people. They're all about their history, but they leave out some shit. The first Harley could not climb a hill. It was so underpowered and heavy, it could not climb a hill. And this was like 1903, right? Over 116, 17 years ago. Yeah, you can't sell that. They didn't even try. They made something else. Yeah. So your first attempts, it's not going to be perfect. That's the behavior prompts the changes, the anatomical changes. And weirdly, you can see this in cats of all animals. The way people talk about hyoid bones is fucking insane. So, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think the snow leopard, pretty sure it's the snow leopard, is the outlier on this one. It's not even an outlier, it's just the thing that fucks up the data. So, like, you get cats with a certain type of hyoid purr, and cats with a certain type of hyoid roar, except for the snow leopard, which defies that pattern completely. So you get, and this goes back to the 1800s. You get researchers claiming, oh yeah, this shape of hyoid bone, or it's cartilage, or I don't remember what the details are, but something regarding the hyoid bone in cats. This dictates that they purr, and if it's the other one, then it dictates that they roar. And it turns out to not be true. And it's the non-truth of this has been knowable for something like 140 years. Something on that. I think this one also goes back to like the 1880s, 1890s, something like that. It's in the 1800s. It was knowable. The research had been done. The snow leopard. I think it was at least the 1820s or 1920s. Something like that. I don't know. I looked it up at one point and I don't care anymore. But I just found it interesting that there was this weird bullshit claims about a hyoid bone in cats as well as humans, and it doesn't make sense in either. Right? What everybody is saying and agreeing to is bullshit. What? Why? Why are we so great at making terrible claims about hyoid bones? Why is this such a specific thing? And particularly the vocalizations that are possible with this particular shape of hyoid bone. No. No. That's not what dictates it. Clearly, it's not. And so you can look at chimpanzees, right? You can look at, our closest relatives, bonobos and chimps. The range of the frequency range of their vocalizations is basically exactly the same as ours. So their hyoid bone is a little bit different. it doesn't have any fucking effect. And you know, I can make sounds. I can imitate the sounds of a chimpanzee really well. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna do that right now on camera. Maybe on another video. But it just demonstrates that yeah, our vocal range is about the same. It's that old. However old that group is that includes chimps and humans, our the frequency range of our voices hasn't actually changed. You actually get really strong evidence the resonance frequencies, the shape of the mouth, that also has not changed in that time. And the only motivation I can imagine for that is psychological. So like humans, we're tuned into psychologically for some reason this particular frequency range, and that psychology. So this is another sort of thing. It kind of goes in with the UG thing from the other video. This is innate psychology. Yeah, so UG is supposed to be innate psychology, right? That just magically happened. Yeah, innate psychology doesn't change very much. It's really, really resistant to change. It is stable over stupidly long periods of time. Yeah. Stupidly long periods of time. Species to species to species to species. Species variation. The things that you're allowed to do, the ways that you're allowed to change as a species into a new species, frequently is limited by psychology, by innate psychology, because you can see it in faces, you know, the way faces look, like a Marcel from Friends, right? This little monkey, capuchin, yeah, he looks very, very human, extremely human. You know, there's species of monkeys that have their markings on their head look like this. It looks like male pattern baldness, and there's other ones that have facial hair. The markings that look like facial hair in men, and like kind of all of the basic things that we do with our faces that happen to us also happen in other primates that are 50 million years separated from us. Like, this is old. This, there's something in human psychology that's, sure, I do this. And the reason I know it's psychology is because in the monkeys that do it, not all of them, but in most of the monkeys that do it, it's actually like a white marking and then dark marking. Like, it's a visual signal on purpose. Right? It's not the gene for balding. That just kind of that got kept because it made this happen. It made this visual thing happen in light-skinned humans with dark hair, particularly European ones. It's kind of interesting. Like, you look at it like, oh, it's amazing that it looks so human. Yeah, it isn't actually. It isn't, because the thing that makes them look so human is innate psychology. They want their peers to look a certain way, so they select mates in a certain way, and they kind of reject members from their group if they look too divergent from that. They're like, oh, you're a freak, and they don't let them be part of their community, and that guy just goes and dies a homeless hobo. You know, he's not part of the community, he gets kicked out, doesn't get to breed, doesn't, you know, poof. That's the power of this. And that's why, and this gets, you know, you get patterns showing up because of this over tens, hundreds of millions of years. Huge time spans. What was this video about? The hyoid bone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it ends up being like one of those things, like, oh, part of the genetic endowment, part of the UG thing is the hyoid bone is different. Well, but it would have to be motivated by something, and it would be motivated by the behavior of talking. So the behavior of talking has to come before the change to the hyoid bone. So looking at Neanderthals and Homo erectus and anything where you have the hyoid bone now, and seeing that it's different and saying, oh well, that means they didn't have language. That's bullshit. That's a bullshit argument. That doesn't actually serve as evidence in that vein. Um, And it's obvious that it doesn't serve as evidence because we have this weird analogy in cats. For whatever reason, fucking cats of all things. We know that you can't look at the hyoid bone and determine anything about vocalizations. Also, we have close relatives, extant close relatives, chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, and gorillas. And their vocal range, maybe the gorillas are kind of outside on that, but for the most part, their vocal range is extraordinarily similar to ours. The pitches that they are sensitive to and that they produce are basically exactly the same as what we produce, and their hyoid bones look different. So it's not making that happen. Another thing that, oh god, I remember this, I think it was from the 90s or some bullshit, the Discovery Channel. The Learning Channel. One of those fucking things. God damn it. Some, 2000s. It was a while ago. Some fucking thing. I remember the researcher was a lady. Kind of an older blonde. I don't know. Slightly like rotund lady, and she had like an assistant who was a not attractive, also slightly poorly male. God damn it! Anybody who's seen this clip knows what the fuck I'm talking about. All right, and the background light is all like kind of this dark. It's like shadowy, but kind of blue tinted or purple or something. Whatever. Anyway. Yeah. They're talking about Neanderthal vocalizations. And what they're saying is that the neck was shorter, so that the frequencies that they make would be higher pitched, or like the hyoid bone was higher up, so the vocalizations would be higher pitched. No. No. That's not what... No. That's not what determines the frequency. What determines the frequency is tension in the vocal cords. Right? So, like, if you've ever looked at, say, a guitar and a piano, the internals of a guitar and a piano, or, hey, how about, let's make it even better. Let's do a violin and a piano. The violin is a pretty small instrument, right? You can, it's not that long. The strings are, something like a foot long-ish. 15 inches, somewhere in that ballpark. Pretty short. Not that big. I mean, the useful length of the string is, But then, so to get the same frequency on a piano, the string that gives you the same frequency on a piano is several feet long. And they're probably made out of different materials, and blah, 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 blah. And one is bowed or plucked, and the other one there's a little hammer that hits it. Like, basically everything about this physically is different, except that the way that they're tensioned causes them to vibrate at the same frequency. And the tension is the thing that you can adjust in both of these systems to adjust the frequency. That is the thing that is adjustable on both the violin and the piano that allows you to tune it, changing the tension. And that is exactly how your voice works.
When you talk higher, you're putting more tension on the vocal cords. You're pulling it tighter.
And when you talk lower, you're letting it relax. You're letting it... That's why there's only so low you can go. Because if you go any lower, then they're so floppy they won't even vibrate when you breathe past them. They just kind of, they don't really do anything at all. Right? It's the tension. The tension in the vocal cords. Not the location. Right? So, like, there's absolutely nothing in common between the location of the string on a violin and the location of the string on a piano. One is inside the instrument, inside the resonator. One is above it, and it communicates to the resonator with the bridge. And that's what's putting the vibrations into the resonator, that's resonating and then singing. Whereas in the piano, the string is inside the resonator. Completely different architectures. They can produce exactly the same tones. One has a string this long, one has a string this long, producing exactly the same tones. The location of the string doesn't matter. It does change some things. So, okay. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of a violin and a piano don't sound exactly the same. There's a lot of reasons for that, and one of them is involved with the location. But the fundamental frequency that you're getting on the violin, you can also get on a piano, even though they are so vastly different from each other. So for these people, these researchers, paid money by somebody to study these things, to conclude, oh, the hyoid bone is higher, or the neck is shorter, or some bullshit like that. So
Neanderthals talk like this because it was higher.
No. You're fucking retarded. That is no. That is the biggest no I've ever fucking said. No. You don't know what you're talking about. At all. What the fuck? God damn it. Yeah, this kind of shit, this is why I'm not a fan of science, actually, because I know too much about it. I know too many of the stupid things people say. In science, these are paid researchers. This is their career to know this shit. And they say retarded ass shit like that. Really? Why is anybody paying you? You're terrible at this. You should voluntarily step down from this position. Just out of moral duty to humanity. Because fuck me, you're stupid. Yeah. Anyway. Hyoid bones. No. Don't trust research on hyoid bones. Read it and take it with a grain of salt.